Welcome to our our HubSpot user group. We are the Caribbean Content Strategy Hub. But as all things with content, we are in and out of HubSpot all the time, working on a bunch of different things. So Tiffany and I, we do HubSpot onboarding a lot. Our agency, Chronix Digital, is part of the HubSpot Partner Scaled Onboarding program. So HubSpot sells HubSpot. You have to buy onboarding when you buy a professional service. So then they need someone to do the onboarding. So they will work with other agencies like ours, and they'll send us their clients and say, hey, here's a new one. Can you onboard them? So we work with a lot of people coming in from scratch to get them onboarded and ready to go. But we also have a lot of our own clients that we work with that are at various stages of their HubSpot life cycle. And so we have seen some things. And we thought that this would be a really good hug to do, whether you're thinking about getting Marketing Pro or you've been using HubSpot for years and you've got a lot of legacy workflows and systems in place. We thought this would be a really good one just to recap and review what are some of those foundational things that you can do to set up your HubSpot portal for success. And this is really important because if you don't do this, and if you just like, oh, I'll import these contacts and I'll figure it out later, or like, oh, I'll just create all the contact properties, it starts to get really messy. There's the saying garbage in, garbage out. So if your portal is getting a little bit sloppy, people don't trust it. And they're going to say, well, I want to send to this list, but I don't know if this list is the right list or if it's using the right property, or like, I'm just going to import my own list. And then it really compounds the problem. So people find their own ways to like hack the system or be like, well, I always use this workaround, or they just don't use it at all. And you're paying a lot of money for HubSpot. You want to make sure that you're getting the most out of it. So that's why we are doing this session today. So we're just going to run through the agenda here. We're going to talk about setting up your account, different life cycle stage changes, like your contact in your CRM touches all the different touch points in your company, maybe possibly depending on who's in it. So talking about that handoff process, and then just some basic setup and reporting.
Awesome. Well, let's just dive in with initial prep. So we all know that HubSpot is a great tool for streamlining your marketing efforts, but in order to use it effectively, you have to know how to build it out. And the very first thing that we always recommend is that before even getting started is to start collecting some basic information about your business. So what are your priorities? Who is your target audience? What are you currently doing for marketing? By answering these questions first, it'll help you figure out what to focus on once you get in the platform. We also recommend setting up some goals and having some target KPIs in place. So for example, in the short term of 30 days, what will success look like? Will that simply be importing in all your marketing contacts? And then after a year's time, once everything's in place and you're doing your marketing efforts, do you have a target KPI? Do you have a certain conversion rate you're trying to meet just to see whether or not you're staying on track? And then from there, we always recommend putting together a timeline so that you can stay on track during onboarding. So you want to figure out what will it look like on day one, after week one, after a couple weeks, after a couple months, after a year, just to make sure that you're staying on track and utilizing HubSpot appropriately. And so now we're going to get into the main account setup. And the very first thing that we usually have people do is to start by creating and adding users and teams to your portal and giving them different permission types. And I'm sure, as everybody knows, there's a lot of different tools specifically in the portal, and everyone does not need access to everything. I, for one, can say that I've gotten access to some design tools in the past, and I've had to raise my hand and say, how do I undo this? I shouldn't have had access to this. And so basically, you don't want that to happen to you. So we highly recommend figuring out who should have access to what. And here's an example of something we've put together when we've kind of noted out all the different tools and which specific team should have access to that. So for example, marketing would get access to CRM, marketing reporting. And then you need to think about, like, does the sales team need access to like social publishing tools, to the blog, et cetera? Probably not. So just think those things through in the very beginning. The next thing we always say to focus on is just configuring those default settings. And this is really important because a lot of this actually feeds into those various marketing tactics. So you want to make sure that you set up those defaults, like your time zone, for example, and your company information. All that will feed into your email marketing, for example, specifically also when you send out that email, depending on your settings. Additionally, you want to think about also inputting your branding information, your logo, your company colors. It's really simple to do. You just go into settings, go into branding, click on my brand kit. And then from there, you can actually just pop in the URL of your website and HubSpot will scan your site. And then from there, it's going to pull out your brand colors. And this is actually really important because down the line, as you are setting up your email or doing a blog post or a landing page, when you go in and change the font color, what you'll notice is that you'll see favorites at the very bottom, and that's actually being pulled in from your brand kit. So it's really important. It kind of helps you stay on track, and it's making sure that you're kind of staying with those branding guidelines as you're going forward. The next thing you want to do is connect your domain. So if you plan on hosting your website, your blog, or your landing page specifically on HubSpot, and you want your domain to appear in that URL bar, we really recommend connecting it specifically here. Usually we recommend having your IT team member help because this does involve connecting to your DNS provider, and which is a little technical. So you want to have them on board to help you with that. And that just involves choosing, like, for example, I want to do a blog, putting your domain, and then connecting to the DNS provider. Also, on top of that, you want to make sure that you set up your email sending domain, which is something different. This is important, especially if you're going to be running marketing emails through HubSpot. So by doing this, whenever you send out an email, you're going to basically lower the chance that your email will be marked as spam. And also that the sending email address won't say via HubSpot. So that's why you want to set up that email sending domain. From there, we recommend connecting your different accounts. So if you have like paid search, LinkedIn ads, if you have social accounts, for example, connecting all of this to HubSpot. For us, this has become like a really big time saver for us, specifically when it comes to social. So instead of, logging into Twitter and Facebook and then LinkedIn, you can actually post to all those different places from HubSpot directly. And what's really nice as well is that you can actually see the overall performance as well. So when you're looking from channel to channel, which one has the most interactions, impressions, it's very helpful just to kind of get that overview specifically in HubSpot. And custom properties. So by default, when it comes to HubSpot, there's a lot of properties that are already in place. For example, your first name, last name, email, lifecycle stage. These are all properties or fields of information. But when it comes to your company, you may have some properties that you think are missing. And that's when the custom properties come into play. For example, we have some real estate clients and they wanted to add in, like, for example, the commission percentage and the commission amount. And those are all custom properties that we wanted them to add specifically in the interface. And it's really helpful when it comes to kind of segmenting that data down the line. And it's really simple to do. You can just go into properties, add a new property, and then you're going to choose specifically what's the field type. Is it a checkbox? Is it a radio select? Do you want to do a calculated field or a number? It's pretty simple to put it in and then do your labels. And then down the line, you can actually use this information in regards to list or in forms or in workflows and also in reports. So it's very helpful to kind of pull in those custom properties as well into reporting. So just something to think about. And then from there, one of the most important steps is just importing in your contact information and your companies and deals. And that's kind of why we talked about those custom properties first, because if possible, we always recommend setting up those custom properties first before doing that specific import. Additionally, you want to make sure that your list is clean. So if you have duplicates, you want to merge those together. If there are specific people that you haven't sent information to in a long time, if you don't need them, let's get rid of them. The main goal is for you to start fresh and clean, importing information into HubSpot. And then once it's in there, then that's the best time to create those lists and segment your contacts. And it's really helpful in regards to breaking it down by specific properties like lifecycle stage, or you can actually create lists based on engagement. So if somebody unsubscribes, if someone clicks on a certain link in a website, for example, you can create a list and that use that information specifically for email and workflow, so on and so forth. So just kind of think about that as you're setting things up. And then finally, we always recommend installing that HubSpot tracking code to your website to get some more visibility into performance. And this information will also get pulled into those contact records. So that's very helpful to see what are people clicking on your website by contact. And if possible as well, if you have Google Analytics, then we'd say probably to integrate that along with Google Search Console so you can get that overall SEO performance in HubSpot as well. And then when that's done, I believe time for the marketing.
Yeah, so our marketing to sales to service handover. So ideally in a perfect world, everyone in your organization is using HubSpot to update their contacts, manage processes, document anything they need, and the world's a happy place. Everyone can have access to what they need all the time. Realistically, you might have teams that aren't using HubSpot for their part of it. Maybe you don't even have those teams, like maybe customer success isn't part of your organization. So really identifying when a contact comes into your CRM, who owns them, and does that change at any time is going to open a can of worms and a lot of discussion in your organization about, well, if they fill out a contact form, should they go straight to sales or does it go to marketing first? Or should everything go straight to sales? With this conversation, we're talking about Marketing Pro. So generally, if you're using Marketing Pro, marketing has a say in the contacts that are being added because you're creating lists, you're nurturing. But at a certain point, those contacts that you nurture might indicate that they're ready to go to sales. So if you're using lead scoring, what factors contribute to identifying a good fit lead? When does that handover happen? Is it automated? Do you have to manually walk over and tap sales on the shoulder and be like, I've got a new lead for you? So really identifying what that process is, who owns what, how do you hand it over, and what are the responsibilities, from the sales team once you do are really important. So we have a little worksheet that we do, which we can see in the next slide here, where we kind of break it down and we're like, okay, when somebody is just a lead, they've come in, or maybe they're a subscriber, they're interested in your blog content. What do we do? How do we communicate with them? Who is the contact owner? What sort of touch points do we have? And then once they become marketing qualified, like they're engaging with the collateral, we know that, they are specifically interested in not just tire kickers. What point do we hand them over? And then for customer service as well, from going from sales to customer service, there's probably certain information that you need from them. There's all kinds of data points that should be collected on the contact record to ensure that smooth transition and that handover. And this is really important too for when people kick back. So if you have a lead come in, they raise their hand, they're like, we want a demo, you talk to them, totally not qualified. You still want to keep nurturing them because they might be qualified later, or maybe there's, other reasons that they want to be involved with your brand, but you don't want them to sit on sales, desk. You want it to go back to marketing. So that whole life cycle stage is really good to talk through because it will surface all kinds of questions that you didn't know you didn't know. So definitely work that through. A good way to collect a lot of information is with your forms. I find forms are one of the most underutilized for data collection. We think form like name, email, whatever else, but you can put in hidden fields in your forms. So we use this a lot for personas. There's certain personas that we can just automatically tag. A contact doesn't need to say, I am a, whatever persona, but we know that they are based on the form that they fill out. So this example we have here is just the application form. If somebody's filling out the application form, their persona is job seeker Jerome. So we want to make sure that we tag them appropriately with that hidden field for their persona property. Now, when we tag that and that contact gets added to our CRM, we're going to exclude them from certain workflows. So we don't want to nurture them. We don't want to contact them as a lead. We want to make sure that they go into our job seeker workflows that, deal with notifying HR, following up, certain things. We also have this areas of interest where they can check so that when we are filtering our lists and creating, our smart lists and our active lists, we can easily say, oh no, we need to hire a new developer. We've got a big project on the go. Who's everyone who's applied in the last month that said that they're in web development? So we can use these properties, create a smart list in our CRM, and just be able to react very quickly. You can also use your forms to set your marketing contact status. So when you create your forms, you have your little toggle set as marketing contact. Make sure you are using that so that you don't collect all of these great contacts and then you can't email them because they're not marketing contacts. And you can also set your legal basis and your subscription types. So feel free to load up your forms with hidden properties to set all of those values that you need to create your lists, send your emails, and to organize your data internally. All right, campaigns is another underutilized tool. And so anytime you're creating a blog post, landing page, marketing email, social media post, you have the option to tag the campaign. Now, sometimes we just kind of like set it and forget it. We're like, oh, this campaign is our hug campaign where we talk about all the hug things we do. But then, we never look at it. So taking your time to check out the campaign reporting tools is really good. This screenshot I've shown here is something that you don't see by default. When you go in and you look at your campaigns, you just go into like marketing campaigns. It'll show you your campaigns, but the default columns it gives you is like, when was it created? Who owns it? What's the end date? Which is okay, but not actionable. But if you go to edit your columns, you can put in the number of assets that you have for those campaigns, and you can look and see, for our hug, we've got 6 blog posts, 8 marketing emails, but no forms. So, how is someone going to sign up for our hug? So you can really identify those dead ends in your campaigns and be like, oh, maybe we should create a form. Or maybe we have a form, but we haven't tagged it, so we can't report on it because it's not tagged appropriately. So this is good to get that user journey because we all love inbound marketing. So we want to create our blog posts, use our CTAs, drive traffic to landing pages, get them to float forms, and nurture them. So this helps to identify the gaps in that process. And then we can look at the reports. So the default reports are cool because they tell you like how many sessions you got, new contacts generated, which assets are doing the most work. But you can also compare your campaigns. So if we look in HubSpot, we can do our campaign comparison. So we have these 2 campaigns. We have one that focuses on HubSpot sales and one that, we do a lot of SEO work. So we get a lot of questions about image sizes. What is the right image size for my blog post, for my landing page? Like, how big is too big for SEO? So we have this image size guide that we've put together, and it does very well. You can see it's driven, 63,000 sessions. We get people that reach out, ask us questions. There's a lot of influence questions. People engage with it on social. They share. Very good. So if we were just looking at, our overview report would be like, woo, image sizes are amazing. Let's do more content on this. And then if we compare it to our HubSpot sales campaign, way less exciting for a number of sessions, way fewer contacts. But if you're using deals and you're tracking deals that come in, you can see that we've actually made money off HubSpot sales campaigns, but the image ones, we've made no money. So, as a business owner, I would want to invest our resources into the campaigns that actually have a return versus the ones that are just kind of like vanity campaigns. So these both serve different purposes. Getting our image sizes out there is going to build awareness, build brand awareness, build links back to our site, get people talking about us. But when we're deciding where we want to focus for the next quarter, we might want to get more niche specific and focus on revenue. So don't forget to use this to compare how your campaigns are doing, and then you can make actionable business insights and decisions to move forward with your next campaigns. Cool. A/B testing is huge. Gonna call you out. Anyone on this call using A/B testing for your, or is it just one of those things where a lot of people are like, oh, I'm so excited for HubSpot, we're gonna A/B test everything, but then nothing ever gets A/B tested. Tiffany, you laugh, you've seen it, right? They're like, I can't
Mm-hmm.
wait.
It's true.
So it's so true. And the sad part is often you set up an A/B test and you realize it's the same. There's no difference between them. Um, so setting up the A/B test is really important to see what makes a difference, but then pick a winner. Like if you run your A/B test forever, it's not actually helping you because you're not getting that value of the differential placement. So when you go in and you run your A/B test, it'll show you both versions, and then pick how long you're going to run it for. So this one we can see that there's same amount of views, but variation B has nearly twice the click-through rate, and it has a higher submission rate. Actual submissions is 1 versus 2, but that's double. So picking that winner could have increased our number of submissions if those numbers held true. So definitely like pick your winner and then run a new test. Your workflow settings. So workflows are amazing, and we've seen some pretty solid workflows over the years. But where we see a lot of people kind of miss the boat is when their settings are not quite right. So if you have a form that's like you fill it out and there's a thank you email or a kickback email, having re-enrollment for that makes sense. So every time somebody fills out that form, they get that thank you email. Having people re-enroll in a nurture workflow and get those same nurture emails again and again and again, not ideal. So definitely check your enrollment and unenrollment triggers. You don't necessarily want to drop your current customers into a nurture campaign, especially if it has different pricing or like special offers. That can be a little offsetting. So make sure you're using your list for unenrollment and suppression, and double check your re-enrollment. In your workflows tool, there's that details button. Click that and just like take some time and go through and check who is actually getting enrolled and what they're getting. You might get a lot of like, so and so was enrolled, so and so was unenrolled because they didn't meet the criteria anymore. So and so was enrolled, so and so was unenrolled because of a suppression list. That's good. But you can also see like so and so is enrolled and they got this email, this email, this email. And then you might be like, ooh, they shouldn't have gotten those with this other thing. So it takes a bit of work, but making sure that you get those fine tuning right, and just making sure that your marketing workflows really jive with like maybe sales is also sending emails or maybe there's another workflow that's going and sending, and you wouldn't necessarily see that a contact is getting touch points from a lot of different places. So checking that is critical. Your send days and times is often overlooked. If you are a bank, sending a like account reminder email at 3 a.m. on a Saturday might come across really fishy. But if you are a retailer and you're sending an abandoned cart email to be like, wait, buy now, don't let this offer expire, 3 a.m. on a Saturday is totally appropriate. So really check those settings too. And workflows aren't just for emails and marketing, they're also for data management. Use your workflows. You can use them to set lifecycle stages, set lead statuses. We've got our persona for the job seeker. We can use that workflow to say, alert HR, send a follow up to so and so, send a thank you email, make sure that we do all of these things. So you can really like use those workflows to keep things clean. I saw an account yesterday and it had duplicate, triplicate contact properties because they had set it up originally with state just being like open text. And then they're like, oh, we should standardize this. So they standardized it with multiple checkboxes to have like the set state. And then they're like, oh, well, no, we shouldn't let people have multiple states. So then they did a radio dial. So they ended up with 3 different properties for state. all of them are being used. Sometimes none of them is being used. So using a workflow for that to be like, hey, if this is known, if someone's using the wrong one, update it in the proper field so that you can bulk upload, your contact list of 30,000 people to keep that clean, and then go through and delete the other ones. Go all the contact properties you're not using, go back, clear them out, archive them so that you can prevent that from happening moving forward. But use the workflows for like those bulk updates because nobody wants to do that manually.
Perfect. So now we're going to just shift over into reporting. I know that Tanya kind of talked about those campaign reports, really, really helpful. But in general, I would say that the great thing about HubSpot is how easy it is for you to visualize your data when it comes to dashboards. You can create a dashboard from scratch. You can create it from a template. You can say, I want to see email metrics, and it'll automatically create an email dashboard for you. It's really easy to use. And so, for example, here you can see that you have different types of marketing efforts. You can see website traffic, email, and social all specifically in one dashboard, which is very helpful. And what's really nice is that you can move things around. You can make it smaller and bigger. And it makes it really simple to add reports. What I like to do is actually go into the template reports, go to like template reports and just go through before creating one of my own and just see what's available. So it's just pretty handy. And there's a lot of different reports for me to choose from. But if for some reason you can't find a report that you're looking for, specifically like if you have those custom properties, you're probably going to want to create a report from scratch. As I said before, you can use a template or you can create it from scratch. And it's really simple. Basically, this is what it would look like when it comes down to it. You're going to choose what type of chart do you want to do? Do you want to have a bar chart, a line graph? Do you want just a basic table? And then you're going to decide what specific properties to pull into the report as well. And then from there, you can filter it down to specific properties. You can filter down to date as well. And you can also choose what's the time frame that I want to have in this specific report as well. And it makes it really simple for you to save that to your dashboard. And I think that's it when it comes to, I think, Marketing Pro onboarding.
Yeah, those are most common offenders. Tiffany, when you were talking about access at the start, one thing that was like, oh, we forgot to mention, HubSpot's been sending security warnings if you have too many super admins in your account. It's just one of those things you're like, oh, too many super admins, but we all need super admin access. But if you think about it, like that is a good flag because if everybody is super admin, like, do they really need it? If you have a small team of like 3 and you do all need it, it makes sense. But it is good to really restrict that, and it helps to prevent the CEO freaking out when he gets the like everybody is a security alert warning, and then you have to justify like why you have this settings you have. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions? This is a really good time to just ask like your specific use case questions. Like, we have this one thing, like Tiffany, I'd love to like get in here and check out like, what do you got going on here? Why is your workflow not firing? Why are you getting marked as spam? Like anything you got, you want to dig into, just let us know. We are here. Or if you found any workarounds and tips, we are all about learning those from you too.
We love workarounds. So definitely we would love to hear workarounds as well. Add that to our back pocket.
Yeah. Keep a list of all the like blog posts I'm gonna write. Like, ooh. Yeah, the commission splits is a good one too. That's fun. All right. If you just want to, hugs are all about networking and building community as well. So if you want to just like share your stories, we're here for it. If you want to like go on with your day, that's cool too. So I will say thank you for joining us. This has been a pleasure. You have our email addresses here if you have anything you want to connect on, anything you want to chat about. But if not, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone.